Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560 The Answer.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Good piece by Azra Nomani over at unheard.com. Miss Nomani is a former Georgetown professor. She is vice president at Parents Defending Education. She's also a former Wall Street Journal reporter, and she's of Indian American heritage. She writes about the new segregation that we've talked about quite a bit. It's rather jarring, and she gives some additionally jarring examples at Wellesley College as well as at grammar schools in the Northeast. She starts her piece, "Young boys and girls must grow up with world perspectives." That was Martin Luther King on April 22nd, 1965, speaking at a meeting of the Massachusetts legislature, lamenting the tragedy of school segregation. With the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the U.S. had finally dismantled Jim Crow, which King had joked about burying a decade earlier. The nation had come to King's conclusion, writes Nomani, quoting King, "Segregation debilitates the segregator as well as the segregated." And she concludes her piece with this observation. The idea that segregation in the form now of affinity spaces and BIPOC-only school events, those sorts of things. Could anything be more racist? The philosophy is blatantly cultish, peddling the idea of original sin but without the forgiveness. No wonder clear-thinking parents of all races rebel against such transparent nonsense. Teaching children that there is a hierarchy of human value is as illiberal and regressive today as it was when King called it a tragedy in 1965. For more on this topic in this Black History Month, we're pleased to be joined by Alveda King, who is a niece of Martin Luther King Jr. She's also the chairman of the Center for the American Dream at America First Policy Institute. Alveda, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's such a joy to join you. And today is what's known as Valentine's Day. There's a Saint Valentine. Yeah, a real good man who really was just doing charitable and good deeds. So my Valentine card has John 3:16, reminding us of God's love for 365 days a year.
Well, there you go.
So happy Valentine's Day on that basis of the love
of God. Happy Valentine's Day to you. And I wonder how you react to Azra Nomani's observations about the new segregation that you're undoubtedly seeing in schools as well.
Yes, I want to do that. And I noticed you said you make a reference to all races. There's one human race. They're not separate races with different ethnic groups. Yeah. My uncle understood that quite well because he just said we must learn to live together as brothers, allied as sisters, or perish together as fools. Acts 17:26 says, "Of one blood, God made all people." So anything, critical race theory, where somebody's teaching that there's a superior race of humans, and all of that is gross error, according to science and the Bible, certainly. And so separating and dividing and arguing over skin color with a premise that you are of one race and somebody else is another race is just gross error. And that really does need to be taught. And that's why I did laugh a little bit. I wear a medallion on my neck, a necklace, and it quotes out of Proverbs 31, she laughs in the face of adversity. So when people are fighting over skin color, I say, guys, we have to stop this. Skin color is ethnicity. I have a beautiful book with Ginger Howard. We're not color blind. In other words, you can't say, oh, I don't see color. Well, of course we see color. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense. If we're not, we have a medical condition. We need a doctor. Right. So separating, really, truly, so separating because of skin color. Now, I don't mind Black History Month or African American History Month. That's okay. and to celebrate that and to know our culture, because black and brown people were robbed of some cultural liberty and freedom through the years in America. So to find out, my thing is this, you remember all the bad things and correct those, and then you build on the foundation of all the good things. And that should be for every cultural group, every ethnic group. I'm actually part African, part Irish, and part Native American. And my DNA testing shows that. So that should show yourself, oh, well, you're multiracial, or you're biracial, or you're this. No, I'm a human being, and I can trace my ethnicity.
All right, we'll have you back on St. Patrick's Day, too. Yeah.
Well, hey, that'd be great. Yeah, county court. And I've been over there, and I've been to Africa. I've been out to the Native American communities just to know who I am. But I do know who I am in Christ Jesus. So St. Patty's Day, yeah, call me back. I can talk about that a little bit too.
Alveda, what do you think your uncle would think of critical race theory that's being taught in schools?
He knew exactly what it was, and so you could kind of find some of his writings, because my uncle, before he really accepted what we call the call of Jesus Christ, and he did that, and his testimony of that is in A Knock at Midnight. So he studied all the religions of the world, and he thought his daddy was old-fashioned for a while. And so his Christian foundations were there, but he had to accept Christ himself. So he knew that critical race theory, the survival of the fittest, the superior race, he knew that was racist. And if you read his writings, that's what it's so funny. I say, you never say, what would Abraham Lincoln think? You just go and read his words, right? What does God think? You absolutely read the Bible, and you know what God thinks and what God says. So I tell people to go ahead and read Martin Luther King's works too. And I can Google now MLK and a topic and find just all types of quotes all the time. My favorite quote on that subject, he had a dream that one day there would be no black power, no white power, only God power and human power. Mm-hmm. And he taught all the time of one blood, all the time. My daddy did, my granddaddy did. So when we start referring to ourselves as the different races, I just tell people, and I do it now. Ginger and I, in our book, we had a good time with that. And all my colleagues, I got to a point, at one point I became so frustrated, I would be at events, and somebody, a very distinguished scholars and preachers and business people, and in the middle of their sentence, I'd jump up from the audience and say, I'm sorry, I just can't let you keep saying the races need to reconcile. There's only one race. And of course, they got mad and they stopped inviting me to things.
Wow.
But, but it was just, I was canceled, uninvited, all that. But it was okay because I knew I had a very big conflict today. And that's why I stopped and mentioned Valentine's Day to you, because I was not going to do a post on it at all. And I wasn't really going to do anything except if somebody sent me, I would send them John 3:16. But sometimes it's uncomfortable to make points when people are so entrenched in tradition and they don't want to hear it. They don't like it. And so I still have to do that sometimes. And so I point out that we are one blood, one race, the human race, in need of a Savior. For me, that's Jesus Christ. And I know my uncle was very clear because he quoted one blood often.
Well, yeah, you mentioned, you don't have a problem with Black History Month, and neither do I. It's of course, what's taught under the auspices of Black History Month. And our friend, and I'm sure yours, Bob Woodson, is fond of saying about the history of Black people in America. When whites were at their worst, Blacks were at their best. And he likes to tell the stories of Black people being resilient and how they overcame, to borrow a phrase from your uncle. And it's it sort of continues, I think, to baffle many. Why don't you want those stories to be part of what everybody understands about the history of Black Americans?
All the stories must be there. We must correct the wrongs. And, there's a great saying, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. So we want to correct the wrongs, but we want to celebrate and build on the foundation of the right things that happen, the good things. And there's so many. Over at AFPI, wonderfully enough, American First Policy Institute, where I am the chair of the Center for the American Dream, every day we are highlighting African Americans' of accomplishments. Some of them are unsung heroes, some of them you know, some of them you never heard of, some from the past, some who are here in the present. And we just thought it was important enough. And there are other holidays for other cultures, of course. African American holiday or Black History started out as Black History Day, and then it became Black History Month. But African Americans are America's 365 days a year. You know?
And so how do you assess the Black Lives Matter movement and its impact on culture and getting to that place of one race, the human race?
Now, there again, I have no problems with the Black Lives Matter movement. And I remember I said, God, there's too much division is what I say. He said, when people start fighting over Black Lives Matter, just say God's love matters, which I did. And every time I would do it, it would stop every argument, every time I would say it. So the organization, however, has been fully exposed. The Black Lives Matter organization was being run by two lesbian women, two or three, I think two, I'm not sure. And one was taking all the donations that the people of goodwill were sending to the Black Lives Matter organization and buying millions of dollars of real estate. So I said, so what is she doing to help Black lives if Black Lives Matter? And so God early on that told me not to even argue and get into those debates, but to point out that there's an organization that's corrupt, and please don't give money to that organization. And God's love matters. So life matters to me from the womb to the tomb.
Are you familiar with Rainbow Push Coalition and Reverend Jesse Jackson?
Right. And, Reverend Jackson was one of the greatest supporters of pro-life, gave one of the best pro-life speeches. His mother could have aborted him, and she didn't. And at one point, he began to say, the rainbow, which was hijacked, is for different reasons later on. The rainbow, which in the Bible, God says, I'll never flood the earth again. And God is not willing that any soul should be lost. So God absolutely loves everybody. So Reverend Jackson started Rainbow Push, and it was supposed to be a coalition of people from all walks of life coming together in unity. And it of course, he began to take money. Different organizations did that through the years. And they took money with people who had special interest in human trafficking and abortion and racial division, and all those kinds of money came in, and his organization was adversely influenced as a result. So I pray for him, and I have prayed for him, of course, Reverend Sharpton, everybody, because, see, we have to watch it. And I don't accept many awards nowadays. I had so many awards. One day I put them all in a box and put them out on the curb. And kids said, what's wrong with you? And I said, well, I'm not doing this to get awards. They said, but Mama, people did that because they wanted to say they appreciate you, this or that. And I said, well, I get that. I understand. And I prefer medallions nowadays to awards because of medallions. Think about it. Nobody has a celebration in the middle of a war. You don't stop fighting, put your sword down, and have a party and champagne. But you put on a war medal, wear it around your neck to remind you. And for me, my Redeemer lives. So I do accept acknowledgments. I appreciate it. I give credit to others and honor where honor is due. But we have to be very watchful and very prayerful and God-focused. So taking money and checks from people who want you to say certain things, and you take the check and then you have to say it, you might not want to do that.
You're an outspoken advocate for the pro-life movement as well. And I wonder how important you think it is for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Could happen as soon as the end of June, the end of the current term of the Supreme Court. How important is that for the restoration of the black family in America?
We need to send Roe v. Wade back to the states and have every state re-examine that. And I believe that as we elect officials who fear God in our states, in our cities, our counties, and then, of course, in the United States Congress, I think we'll get back online a little better than we have been. So it's very important that what is happening, we just keep praying for a favorable outcome. Absolutely.
She is Alveda King. She's a niece of Martin Luther King Jr. She's also chairman of the Center for the American Dream at America First Policy Institute. Alveda, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. God bless you both and your audience.
Thank you. Same to you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion,